Hello and welcome to a new video in which we talk PhDs and how to write your thesis without burning out. So in today's video, I want to tackle a topic that is something that I feel isn't talked about just enough inside the PhD world, and that's how to deal with a problematic supervisor. Specifically, what inspired me to make this video was actually a conversation with a PhD student who was explaining me that they are basically now in their second year of the PhD with a very famous and prestigious supervisor and PI. However, the problem was that PI doesn't have any time for them. Basically, they are coaching themselves through the PhD without the help of the supervisor, without the help of any postdocs from the lab or senior scientists and so on. So the question that they asked me is whether they should change supervisors now, almost midway through the PhD, or is it a better idea to just hang on and, well, clearly this person didn't choose right, but it is what it is, so it's better to hang on than to basically start from scratch in a different place. And I feel this is something that happens so much within the academic environment, because when you think about it and when you talk about, and I talk to many PhDs on a weekly basis, everyone or almost everyone had some sort of weird experiences with their supervisors. Maybe they're not there for you, maybe they are just too busy with other things, or they are not invested as much as you would like them to be, and so on. So what is it that we should do in that case? First of all, I want to share a little bit of a personal opinion that I have on this topic, as I firmly believe that choosing your supervisor, or better said, your supervisor, is the single most important factor that determines whether you are going to succeed or burn out during your PhD. And I feel this so deeply, I believe this really deeply, that I actually suggested to the aforementioned PhD student to switch supervisors, to kind of forget about what happened the last 2 years and just start from scratch somewhere else in an environment that is probably more suitable for the entire PhD experience. Now, I know this is not an easy decision, especially since there is already work done, and most importantly, what I got the feeling from the conversation, they were very attached to the fact that PI was very famous within this research community. So they kind of felt that they're throwing away this possibility of becoming someone inside this entire research world. However, I think when this happens, you basically have two options. If you do not want to throw away the 2 years of your life, a good option would be to maybe search for a collaborator, for a co-supervisor who can actually help you bridge that gap and continue working on the same or kind of similar topic. Another thing would be to basically find someone who is willing to teach you or coach you through this thing when it comes to your specific research topic, your specific issue, someone who is a few years ahead of you, so they can kind of lead you through the entire process. However, that is very hard to do because, of course, especially we know how academia works, the academic ego and all of that. Sometimes the original supervisor isn't willing to just let the other co-supervisor or collaborator into the project, which is kind of a very tricky situation to be in. That's why I firmly believe that this is a situation in which you should open yourself to the option of searching for another PhD supervisor who is more supportive. And for all of you who haven't started your PhD yet, I really recommend to figuring out a little bit and finding out more about your future supervisor. And from my experience, I can say that the most important factor, the most important thing to search for in a supervisor is basically whether they are a good person, whether they respond to email, how busy they are, how much time can they actually allocate for you and your research. Because this is at the end of the day where people feel most abandoned. When they feel that their supervisor isn't there for them, when they feel that they don't care, when they feel that they're just somewhere floating, somewhere in their PhD world, but they are not actually there for them and following them through the entire path of the PhD. So that's kind of my opinion on and my take on this situation, especially since I feel that it's something that is so common. It happens all the time, and yet no one talks about it. Everyone says when you are searching for a PhD, everyone says, oh, apply to this lab, find out the things you're interested in, and of course you should definitely do a PhD in something that you're deeply interested in. However, I feel that all of those things, the topic of your PhD, the prestige of the lab, everything falls down when you have a supervisor who is just not there for you, or who is maybe worse, sabotaging your work or stealing work from you. I've heard so many horror stories that I'm just listing a few of them here, but it's something that you should definitely be aware of. Now, circling back to what can you actually do. So when you are facing the situation in which you do not have the escape, maybe you are too deep into a PhD, maybe you feel that you just want to get it done and forget that it ever happened, like what is it that you can do when you have a supervisor who is not supervising, who is not supporting you throughout the process? First of all, I would always say, of course, search for someone who can help you. And actually, I feel that this happens so much, and throughout the last 2 or 3 years that I've been coaching PhD students, it happened so much that it actually gave rise to the entire idea and the concept of my coaching process, which is exactly that. Providing a community in which PhD students feel supported, they feel that there is someone guiding them, a safe space in which they can ask their questions, maybe the questions that they don't want or cannot ask their supervisor, maybe when you're feeling that everything is a mess and you don't know what to even do, where to ask that question, or sometimes you are not even sure what the question you want to ask is, because there are moments in our PhD in which you're just so lost that you don't even know what is it that is happening inside of research. And all of that is the reason why I created the PhD Reset program. So it's basically a program in which we do all of those things. It's a safe space in which you can ask your questions, in which we untangle all of those thoughts and ideas and messy results and unclear next steps that are floating around in your head, but you just don't know how to channel it toward a finished and submitted thesis. So here's how it looks like. Basically, we have a weekly group coaching session in which you can come and ask your question and basically bring whatever it is that you're struggling with right now. Maybe it's your supervision, maybe it's the fact that you don't know how to move on with your PhD, maybe it's the fact that you have a deadline for submitting a paper or even your thesis and you are just procrastinating and don't know how to move on. So you can bring all of those questions and you will get coaching from me on your specific issue. Moreover, you also get access to a platform in which I dissected the practical tools that you need in order to overcome all of those typical PhD struggles. Procrastinations, writing blocks, how to integrate your supervisor's feedback, how to obtain feedback from your supervisors if they are maybe not as hands-on as you would like them to be, and so on. And also, and most importantly, you are part of a community of PhD students who are in the same struggle. They're struggling with the same exact thing. And here's why this is great, because you get to share your experience with them. And most importantly, you get to listen to their experiences. And this is great because you realize that all of those doubts, all of those problems that you think you are having and that you're carrying them alone, there are things that other people are going through as well. So you feel this sense of community that actually supports you and is designed to support you on your way to submission. So if this is something you would be interested in, I'm going to put a link down below where you can schedule a completely free introductory call with me in which we can discuss whether that's the right program for you right now. So I hope that you found this video useful, and as always, see you in the next video. Bye bye.